ladies and gentlemen, we now are going to be starting our webinar for Jetoptera, Revolutionizing Flight with Bladeless Propulsion Technology. As a reminder to all participants and attendees, this webinar is being recorded. Again, this webinar is being recorded. And should you not be able to participate for the entire webinar, we will be posting it via the WebFunder or WeFunder page. And later on, we'll also publish it via YouTube. So pending that, welcome everybody back who was on before. And just during our last webinar, we discussed our detailed product roadmap and shared how we remain on track to commercialize our aircraft by 2027. Today, we'll be introducing some groundbreaking steps we have accomplished towards our commercial side of the business. An introduction to our speakers. We have Andre, Jetoptera's CEO and co-founder, who's an aerospace engineer, an inventor with more than 100 patents. A former GE engineer, he led the maturation and development of the largest turbofan engine in the world, the GE9X. He holds a PhD in aerospace engineering from Rutgers University. Samina, Jetoptera's CFO and co-founder, is a three-time founder and entrepreneur, as well as former managing director at Merrill Lynch. She holds an AB from Princeton and a PhD from University of London. And I am Jetoptera's VP of Business Development and former Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Marine Corps. I have extensive experience in aerospace business development and defense aerospace from L3 Westcam, United Technologies Corporation, Textron Systems, and I hold a BA from Oregon State University. A brief today for our agenda, we're going to have a brief overview of our technology for those who weren't with us before. And we're going to be sharing our huge news about our new and exciting commercial development program, as well as highlights from our successful participation in the Dubai Air Show 2023. We'll present the investment opportunity and leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end. That said, over to you, Andre.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everyone. If you go to the, there's a massive opportunity to disrupt the advanced air mobility market, which is expected to grow by a factor of 10 and reach $1 trillion by 2040. Today, most vertical takeoff and landing aircraft are loud, slow, and complex. If you've ever been in a helicopter, you'll know exactly what problem we're addressing. At Jetoptera, we developed the world's only jet propulsion solution using fluidics. We've developed a single system for vertical takeoff and landing and forward flight with no propellers that saves a lot of weight. The absence of blades on the exterior of the aircraft and augmented thrust produced by our system means we are much quieter, safer, and faster than helicopters or eVTOL aircraft. Next slide. Our technology supports multiple fuel sources, including jet fuel, sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, hybrid, and electric power sources. As you have heard last week, the first commercial jet to use 100% SAF, or sustainable aviation fuel, crossed the Atlantic. The reduction of carbon emissions using SAF can reach 85% compared to the current jet fuel, and the FPS can use the SAF today. This is because we've developed a distribution propulsion system using compressed air from an air compressor, which is energy agnostic. Our fuel agnostic approach means that we can bring our aircraft to market with traditional fuel sources available today and also adapt to hybrid and electric sources as the technology develops. Next slide. The J4000, our flagship product, the J4000, is positioned to be the first useful air taxi. This is the product that will change the world, and you might be a passenger in one of these in not too distant future. Today, we're going to share an exciting development that moves us even closer to commercializing this aircraft. This next slide. Before that, just a recap that we're taking off. We were being awarded 92 patents, and we have more than 100 pending. Our revenue, mostly from the US military, was $3.1 million. $10 million we invested into R&D. And with that investment, we demonstrated our technology in static, wind tunnel, and flight. Next slide. The collaborations so far are summarized on this slide. But I want to remind everybody, we are a dual-use technology company, developing aviation solutions for both military and commercial purposes. We've had great success with our military collaborations, including sponsorships from US SOC and AFSOC, and an HSVTOL, standing for High-Speed VTOL, challenge contract from AFWERX, which is the innovation arm of the US Air Force, awarded in 2022. We've also worked with industry giants Northrop Grumman and Pratt & Whitney. These partners have validated our approach for the HSVTOL, one in airframe development and the other one in the propulsion. Until now, 100% of our revenue has come from military contracts, and we sold one prototype system to an original equipment manufacturer. These contracts have contributed significantly to our R&D. It helped us understand very well our system, our FPS, and allowed us to develop and test working prototypes of our consumer aircraft. Next slide. So the exciting news today, with this ENAN agreement, what we achieved in 3 years on the military side has now effectively been achieved in 1 year on the commercial side. I am very excited to announce that we just signed a memorandum of understanding with ENAN, a United Arab Emirates technology company with great plans for advanced air mobility in the UAE. This represents a major commercial contract focused on the development of our J500 cargo drone. As you recall, we name our J series based on the maximum takeoff weight. So J500 would have a maximum takeoff weight of 500 pounds. Next slide. Under this MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, Jetoptera and ENAN will co-develop and test the J500 in Dubai by the end of 2024. So very, very accelerated, very aggressive program. When successful, Jetoptera and ENAN will operate the J500 starting as early as 2025, and then look to co-develop the rest of our air taxis, J2000 and J4000, at the ENAN facility in Dubai South. The ultimate goal of the program is to produce large numbers of the J500 for operational use, as well as to scale up the J500 to operate as a manned aircraft in the local market. Dubai South is a very business-friendly area with a very clear development plan, particularly for aviation. Local production is favored by authorities, so forming a joint venture may be a path forward sooner rather than later. With ENAN and the opportunity in Dubai, we've identified a clear local market and customer. Next slide. These are a couple of pictures from the ENAN stand at the Dubai Air Show 2023. And just to say that it was in the same area where Archer and Lilium were displaying their aircraft. But to continue, this agreement propels us miles ahead in terms of commercializing our aircraft. ENAN is the first and only UAV and air taxi manufacturer in the United Arab Emirates, which gives them advantages and help from authorities. For example, they are the first company to have received clearance from the Dubai government to fly drones in the local airspace. Even a dedicated airspace for R&D performed at the location. One of our limiting factors until now has been certification, so this effectively removes that barrier. In addition, Enon will soon have the capability to produce airframes and avionics under separate agreements with separate entities. This means Jetoptera will benefit from a serious cost reduction in developing these components. This collaboration effectively paves the way for Jetoptera to benefit from a vertically integrated approach from design to production, certification, and operation, all within the UAE. Next page. News of this exciting development has been picked up in major news outlets, and we'll continue to see buzz from this catalytic collaboration, which is truly a game changer for Jetoptera, for Dubai, for Enon, and ultimately for the world, as we work together to make commercial drones and flying cars a reality. Next slide. On our last webinar, we discussed our product roadmap in detail and shared how we are on track to commercialize our consumer aircraft by 2027. I encourage you to listen to the recording of that presentation to learn more about the products we see here. You can find the recording in the update section of the WeFounder page, just like Todd mentioned at the beginning of our webinar. I wanted to bring this chart up again, and if you go one more, Todd, because the agreement with Enon has accelerated this entire timeline. This, in effect, is a significant risk reduction that streamlines the development of our aircraft, therefore saving time. Namely, what we learned from the development and the operation of the J5000 will easily translate and scale up to our J2000 prototype cargo and J2000 and J4000 manned platforms. So it's clearly a risk reduction with the potential of flight data, test data, and working with local authorities towards certification. Next slide. In addition to this MOU, the Dubai Air Show 2023 was a tremendous success for Jetoptera. We participated as a part of the Washington State delegation at the Washington booth. You see pictures of the delegation here with the members of Jetoptera team, Todd Newton and myself in our booth. Several cargo and air taxi startups participated, showcasing high demand. Jetoptera stood out with our approach: energy agnosticism, low noise, long range, and high speed. Multiple company representatives stopped to discuss opportunities or to complement our progress. We participate in several meetings arranged by the local authorities with the UAE entities and companies. Next slide. Our brochures were also very popular. They covered the opportunities for both novel VTOL concepts, unmanned and manned, as you can see here, as well as, you go to the next slide, retrofits, and the novel concept of wing in ground effect, which is at the top right corner. A concept that actually came from multiple test programs and data from the wind tunnel, and the wing in ground effect we developed recently is something to keep in mind in the future. Next slide. There was a special moment for me when I was reunited with the G9X technology I helped develop in 2012-2015 period as technology maturation and integration leader of the G9X. The Emirates airline has purchased 90 777X aircraft that use the G9X engine on this occasion in a deal worth over $50 billion, and reflecting the exceptional product, one of the largest deals made during the show. Next slide. With the next slide, Simina will cover the advanced air mobility market and how we position ourselves in this market. Simina?
Good morning. We're at the center of a market that is expected to grow 10 times to $1 trillion by 2040. This is based on Morgan Stanley research. We're disruptive to the current market, valued at $105 billion, we estimate across advanced air mobility, general aviation, UAVs, and military applications, or rather that subset of military needs that we have identified that we can target. We are, because of our capabilities, we are truly a category killer for helicopters and for helicopter applications. Now, our position in the $30 billion commercial drone market just got a significant boost from the ENN deal. We're now much closer to commercializing our J500 commercial drone, which will ultimately also lead to the commercialization of the rest of our J series, which penetrate all of these market categories. This is a huge unlock for us. If we look ahead to the 2040, as you can see, the lion's share of the anticipated addressable market is in transport and logistics, which can be manned or unmanned, and autos and shared mobility. We would posit that to make that larger market a reality, the world needs the Jetoptera roster of capabilities, the speed, the quietness, the compactness, the safety, and the ability to carry heavy loads for long ranges. So we're very excited to be making our way towards that $1 trillion market. Now, if we look on the next slide, we have some reminders of the major strategic use cases. First of all, the public safety, medevac, and high-value deliveries, of course. Then the logistics, last mile, less than truckload, delivery to remote places, islands or oil platforms, surveillance and inspections, and then general aviation and personal and regional mobility. Aircraft using FPS can operate around the clock and land in tight spaces where large rotorcraft cannot. We have no dependency on runways. We have almost no limit to where we can fly to and land safely. And this combination of abilities unlock the verticals that we're listing here. Now, on the next slide, we try to put together a snapshot of our first full revenue year of 2028. We anticipate getting certification for the J series up to the J4000, starting with the cargo drones over the interval, and also continuing to deploy our powered parafoil product and beginning to offer the high-speed VTOL product. So in 2028, as you can see, we have the JPADs and the high-speed VTOL, which are at that point military, according to our forecasts. And then the rest of the revenue pie is split between cargo drones and manned J family air taxis of the 2,000 and 4,000 size. From then on, our growth should be truly exponential as the J family grows in size, and also as we take the high-speed VTOL technology and start adapting it for a business jet application. So on the next slide, we just wanted to remind you that we have a community investment round that is geared to accelerating commercial prototype development, allowing us to bring the safer, faster, and quieter air mobility to the mass market. Our use of proceeds is of course defending and growing our patent portfolio, as well as developing the commercial prototypes. We've raised on this round, we've raised over 1.29 million from over 450 investors. The offering is still open. We want to extend a very sincere thank you to everyone who has invested so far. The sky's the limit for Jetoptera, and we're happy to have many of you taking flight with us. If you haven't invested yet, or if you're interested in increasing your investment, please visit wefunder.com/Jetoptera. We also appreciate it if you can share this exciting opportunity with your networks. The more we raise, the faster we can bring this incredible innovation to our skies.
Okay, we're going to stop sharing our slides right now, and we're going to be opening it up to the Q&A.
Lord Zuckerman asks, how's the current valuation arrived at? We think that the best valuation metric for that is capital structure independent is a revenue multiple at a time when revenue starts to be normalized. So if you take our $2.8 billion number in 2028, what kind of a multiple do you put on that? If you're old and boring, if you're already Boeing, you'll be 2 times revenue. If you're Tesla, you'll be 7 to 10 times revenue. I would submit that actually our multiple should be higher at that point because we're on a much faster growth trajectory at that point. Multiples should reflect growth. So if you take 10x of the 2.8 billion, you're looking at a $28 billion valuation in 5 years. That's so that's about a 20x return for the investor. Where that's the way we benchmark the valuation.
And Brad Martone asks, if they can replace helicopters, will they be able to hover over surfaces such as water for rescues? Andre, do you want to take that?
Yes, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it will do all the job a helicopter can do. Right now, we predict that we have a very good path of up to 10,000 pounds maximum takeoff and landing weight, simply because of the physics and simply because of the previous work done by others with less performant ejectors. We are absolutely confident that not only we can do the job of helicopter, but we can actually push to 2 times to 3 times the speeds of the helicopters. One interesting technical element, if you open a helicopter book, you'll see that the lift to drag ratio of a helicopter is about 4. Well, our aircraft, all of it is well above that, so that we can move faster and we can spend less energy in moving faster. So we're very excited about this market that exists. It's a solid market for the helicopters, and we're definitely going to be disruptive to all of the applications the helicopters can do. Moreover, we can access tight places where a rotor aircraft cannot access. So these are just a couple of elements, but we're very confident we can do that, hovering over water.
Thank you. There's a series of questions about what it's like to pilot a Jetoptera, an aircraft with fluidic propulsive systems. And there's also some questions to explain the technology. We did a lot of that in our previous webinar, and we want to use this webinar to share, obviously, our new commercial opportunity that we're having, and also talk about the path forward. So if you could review those that past webinar, that'd be great. Thank you.
And just to add to what Todd is saying, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, our channel, that you can actually view as well.
And then Pascal, he says, do you expect in time this tech will be applicable in replacing large jets? So this is something that Andre and I have talked, and Samina, of course, have talked quite a bit about. Yes, if you want a business jet to fly anywhere you want to be and have it be runway independent, absolutely.
Yeah, if you talk about commercial jets, wide bodies, we're not there yet. We have a very strong confidence right now that we can go all the way to regional jets, retrofitting those, as well as business jets, which is the very exciting part, because we envision a business jet that can take off vertically and also fly as fast as Mach 0.8 with our high-speed VTOL concept.
Thank you. Nicholas, Samina, this looks like a question for you. What's the current goal? Will you be having another round, I'm guessing, of investment before taking on dilutive investments?
Thanks for the question, Nicholas. in terms of dilutive investments, well, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. We are raising equity. Equity is by definition dilutive, but if properly priced, it's what you want to sell in order to support your growth. And by the way, I misspoke before. We're targeting a 200x for the 5 years in terms of returns. But the current goal technically is to raise $5 million in this offering. One thing that you allude to, which I think is important to stress, is that the reason we like things like the ENN agreement, why we like the military contracts, is that they allow us to develop our technology with full retention and development of IP on a completely non-dilutive basis. So our funding has been a balance of non-dilutive and dilutive, as in equity.
Thank you. Andre from Cowboy Pete.
Yes, thank you for that question, Cowboy Pete. We are familiar with the Amprius, but I have not heard of a 1050 watt-hour per kilogram battery as of yet. That sounds pretty exciting to me. Incidentally, that's the limit that we envision as where you can start talking about an all-electric Jetoptera. Before that, the limitations in what an aircraft can do, whether it's propelled by propellers or fans, etc., we don't see other benefit than using an extender such as a turbine generator or a piston engine generator. But if you can elaborate more on that 1050 watt-hour per kilogram, if they have reached actually cell levels, that would be pretty exciting to explore. Thank you.
And Tom Devlin, you asked, a new partnership sounds very exciting. Does that lock you out of additional partnerships with other potential companies? Answer is no. But as far as the details, I will say this, as far as the details of the Enon Memorandum of Understanding and our agreements and relationship with them, that's all we're going to answer, other than we are collaborating with them and moving forward on co-development. We're very excited about that. And there was another question, is, how deep is that going to be? So that's going to be a completely collaborative event. So I hope that answers people's questions. Thank you for the question, Tom. Andre, you want to discuss from Deepika?
Yes, thank you, Deepika, for the question. It's a very simple rule for us. When you look at the nomination of our J series, we go by 25% of the maximum takeoff weight is payload, and 25% of it is the fuel. In other words, if you take J2000, it's a two-seater for 500-pound payload with 500-pound fuel tank. Similar for J4000 is going to be for 4 people, and so on. J500 is going to be able to carry up to 100 pounds of payload at this time. Once we learn more about the prototypes, we will revisit that.
Thank you. And this is for Samina. Is being a public, from Luis Hernandez, being a public company, is that on the horizon?
Well, it's certainly on the horizon, but we are at the moment laser focused to getting to commercial aircraft revenue. Once we're there, we will examine what we do next, and becoming a public company is one alternative.
Thank you. And Andre, from Brad Martone, go ahead.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Brad. We have not discussed that too much recently, but the answer to your question is absolutely. It's very competitive, including with, for instance, SAF fuel. We have pitched to several airlines a business case with a J4000, and the beauty of it is that we, as opposed to eVTOL competitors, we can actually fly multiple missions as an air taxi, multiple rides on a full tank. They cannot do that. They have to recharge after each travel. They have to recharge their batteries. So not only that is very competitive, but it's competitive with a SAF, which is known as being more expensive than jet fuel today. So thank you for your question.
All right, and Samina, Igor has another question. Is there a Reg D investment option? And if so, is we funded the site still the platform for it?
Yes, there is a Reg D option, and I can put you in touch with our head caretaker at WeFunder if you'd like to discuss it.
Thank you. And then Pascal has a question. What are the plans regarding production scaling, except expected amount of units per year? And that's a good question. That depends on the market demand. I think with the UAE deal, there's certain amounts that are there that they've stated that they want to build, but we're not going to be disclosing that here.
But we are going to be building a manufacturing capacity here and in the UAE.
Okay, Andre, there's a question from Bogdan down at the bottom. Any plans to do demo flight programs in each of the market pillars shared with either the J500, 2000, 4000? I think we answered that in the discussion of the Enon, but I think it's really important for Andre for you to explain how this new development of the commercial of the dual use capability really open the door for that.
Yeah, this is a great question, and that's why this Enon collaboration is cooperation, I should say, it's so important. As I mentioned during the couple of slides ago, part of the attractiveness of this is that Enon has signed a deal with the local civil authority in Dubai, and they were allocated a test site where they can actually fly and conduct R&D actual flights in Dubai, in South Dubai. And therefore, all these programs, we envision that there will be literally hundreds of hours of testing out there with lots of data being collected. We can envision that down the road, maybe could be as early as Dubai Air Show 2 years from now, 2025, we will be able to at least display the J500, probably more, and potentially do a demo, but it's too early to call that.
But in terms of actually letting people fly, I think it would be realistic to think of 2027 for the J2000, possibly the J4000 as well, in terms of taking passengers.
Right.
All right. Are there any more questions? You guys are letting us off easy today. So we really appreciate your questions. They've been very good. But Miguel.
Looks like
yes.
Miguel.
Andre.
Yeah, Miguel. Well, I mean, we're always open to work with Boeing. We're basically in the same geographical area. We have been constantly in touch with them. Their focus right now with the WISC program is unmanned programs, eVTOL. We are always open to a collaboration, of course, with Boeing or with Airbus or with any other large entity. We've been quite active in discussing with propulsion OEMs. We've been talking in the past with GE, with Pratt, with Honeywell, and similarly with Boeing and others. So we are always open to such collaborations. But I think the Enon path is, frankly speaking, very fast, very streamlined, and we have a very motivated cooperation and partner here in Enon.
All right. So Pascal, you asked a couple of questions here about autopilots and on both manned and unmanned aircraft. So just understand that that's one of the cornerstones that we will be doing with our unmanned and our manned aircraft is having unmanned aircraft to begin with the J500, and then having something akin to like a optionally manned aircraft, meaning an optionally piloted aircraft. So that eventually will happen. Is that something we're going to do right away? No. Why? Because we're very interested in improving out the airframe propulsion system and the basic controls as an unmanned aircraft first, and then we'll have some branch plans as the market dictates. So, Pascal, thank you for those great questions. Then Brad Martone, you ask, can you see any competitive events like Red Bull has so many flying toys? Yes, Crub Crafters, another Washington company located in Yakima, Washington. They're the ones that did the aircraft and landed on one of the tall structures in Dubai. But the problem with that is that's a one-time event that does not produce long-term, viability and profit. So that's a bit of a challenge because at the end of the day, we need to make continuous profit and revenue.
It is the case that we'd be less disruptive landing on a yacht than a helicopter would be. So that's certainly, whether it's a yacht or an oil platform, that's certainly a market we can address.
Yeah, oil platform logistics is a huge thing, specifically due to the fact that we don't have any external moving parts. And oil platforms do not like anything that has external moving parts and potentially could create a spark, because then the whole oil platform can go up. So the helicopters that currently operate on and off for oil and gas, they're doing a great job, but it is very risky. And I think with our solution will be much safer and can be automated. And, wouldn't that be a real good thing? Now, and then Cowboy Pete, we're doing flying car development now. So, I mean, essentially the J500 is the gateway to the rest of the development. So thank you,
Yeah,
Cowboy Pete.
I was going to suggest Cowboy Pete to watch the webinar from last time because we went into greater detail and we also explained how we're already manufacturing the power plant for that.
So not to chime in here, but J2000 is a two-person flying car or a pilot plus passenger. J4000 is pilot plus three. So that's as we scale up, you can have more passengers. But if you want a sporty model, it would be the J2000.
And then to answer, Brad, your question, will it fit in a standard garage? Define a standard garage. It's not going to be, if you could fit a Ford F550 in there, maybe. But that's a Ford F550.
If you watch our demonstrators, the modularity of it with the box wing coming off and canards coming off, you'll understand what we're talking about. There's a question from Cowboy Pete. Decibels, that has been extremely well documented in past webinars and our publications. I encourage you to go on the website. We will be from the start more than 25 decibel lower noise than anything that has propellers, simply by physics. And you can see the two methods that we use there to quantify that, including when we hired one of the top specialists in aeroacoustics, Dr. Doherty, from University of Washington, an ex-Boeing acoustic specialist, who made the statement that our device as designed will sound more like the wind, not like a machine. And the beauty of our system is that on the outside, you have absolutely no frequency. It's a broadband only. And that immediately puts us in advantage of anything that has propellers, blades, and chops air.
Okay, and then Nicholas, will you need pilot certification to fly a personal vehicle? So this is per your jurisdiction. All flight rules and certifications for clearance to fly aircraft of all different sizes. So each country has its own flight certification process, and then like what Europe considers LSAs or light sport aircraft, they're not exactly the same weights as the US. And if you go to, some, places like in Egypt or whatever, that's going to be a challenge. So it's going to be on your jurisdiction, but you will have to have training for talking to air traffic control, understanding all the flight procedures. So yes, that is going to be a thing. And then of course, the J2000 is specifically designed as an introductory aircraft for people to learn how to, as a trainer, to learn how to fly an aircraft equipped with fluidic propulsive systems. So we are positioning ourselves there. So thank you, Nicholas, for your question there. Andre, for Brad?
Yeah, and I think after this, I want to answer Brad Marton's question. Yes, actually under a CIBR program, we have actually compared 4 technologies, including ours, in an anechoic chamber, analyzed by the University of Notre Dame. That's where the test was conducted, in which we tested 4 technologies: an electric motor driving propeller, an electric ducted fan, our FPS, and a pure jet expansion, all producing the same thrust with the characterization, and we reported that to the US Air Force, who sponsored the program. We also compared that on a program that is not public, other than it's being a military program, where we compared with a propeller of the same power, our FPS, and again, the advantage was clearly quantified by Dr. Doherty and his method of beam forming. So very professional. By the way, Dr. Doherty has received the AIAA Aeroacoustics Prize in 2022, I think. So that's a very prestigious award, the top prestigious technical award. So he knows what he's doing. Thank you.
And Andre, Pascal has a question here about max speed for this technology, and
yeah, I
there's
think
a couple of tiers there. So
yes, well, we are very proud to have offered high-speed VTOL concept, and we have established with validation from both Pratt & Whitney and Northrop that we have a concept that can do vertical takeoff and a Mach 0.8 at various altitudes. This has been reported a little bit in the press, but that is the basis for our plans eventually to develop a business jet that can take off vertically and fly at Mach 0.8.
okay, so Gene, you sent us a link, and it goes to the Maxwell X-57, which is a failed program, but it talks about the lithium sulfur. So it's battery technology. So Andre, do you want to answer that?
X-57 Maxwell program has been canceled because it was not safe. I actually have posted something on WeFunder, which I encourage you to read, about why we believe it was canceled. I also posted links on the conference session that NASA explained why they pulled the plug on that program. It was considered not airworthy and safe for the pilot, which says a lot, given the fact that the NASA airworthiness standards are kind of more easier, let's put it this way, easier than the FAA's. So the NASA Maxwell X-57 was canceled, I think, earlier this year.
And then Pascal has another question about Mach 1 plus achievable.
We have actually not ventured there. The short answer is yes, with some sacrifices. But if you read the press about us, about our what is called adaptive fluidic propulsive system, you will understand that we use the turbo compressor as supply for our FPS for vertical takeoff and low speed cruise, but also we reverted to a turbofan. There's nothing, no physics to, there's no, you know, the physics supports us that we could actually envision a jet that can go beyond that, but it's going to require a lot of engineering on the wings and so on.
And billions of dollars of development.
Yes.
So then Cowboy Pete, any known competitors? If not, you are far ahead of the future competitors. So we don't have competitors because it's not something that anybody else has at this point.
Well, we have a very strong IP portfolio. We have, as we mentioned today, 92 patents to date and more than 100 pending. We have a very solid portfolio for patents internationally. So therefore, we feel pretty strong about dominating in this area.
Okay, ladies and gents, we are nearing the end of our webinar. We appreciate all your questions. We could probably do one more question if anybody has one. But saving that, we appreciate everybody's time today and the opportunity to share with you our latest and greatest news on our dual use technology program, which we are moving forward with the J500 and beyond. So thank you all for being with us. And, you know, we look forward to sharing with you even more news at a later date. So stay tuned to our WeFunder page, stay tuned to our YouTube page, and look for us on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and good day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.